Gimbals are a great way to add smooth dynamic movements to your shots and give you rock steady stabilization. But this gimbal isn't just a gimbal. This gimbal is almost like your own personal crew. I mean, it can follow you in frame using AI tracking. It can light you with its CCT and RGB top light. It has an extendable handle, allowing it to become a mini tripod or dedicated selfie stick, full color removable touchscreen remote control so you can preview what you're filming when you're not close to the gimbal. Plus, it knows sign language. This is the Hohem iSteady M7 gimbal for smartphones. But is it Hohem or more ho-hum? Well, this video is sponsored by Hohem, so this is not the best review in the world. This is just a tribute. In this product overview, I'll run through why I think this might be the most complete feature-rich smartphone gimbal on the market and some of its secret features that elevate it above being just another gimbal. And let the record show, while the M7 was sent to me, I also have the previous version of this gimbal, the M6, which I purchased myself and covered in a previous video with zero Hohem affiliation just because I liked it so much. Hohem? I barely know him. But what have Hohem innovated in the next generation version of their gimbal? Well, the answer is quite a lot. The payload of the gimbal is now 500 grams instead of 400. And look, anytime you can support a massive load, that's a good thing. As someone who constantly uses accessories with my iPhone, the additional load-bearing capabilities are very useful. This means I can fit a lens or lens filter to the gimbal, and I can use the mounting screw on its handle as a little SSD holder for everything. I've got my Lexar Go SSD attached along with my Rode radio mic receiver, and then I have a right angle cable connecting the phone to the SSD. The receiver is also connected here. Not only that, but the gimbal can actually power your phone as well via this sneaky USB-C port. So now not only can you keep your phone rigged out while using this gimbal, you can also keep it from draining battery for extended shoot times. With this simple configuration, the gimbal is the perfect all-in-one smartphone video solution. It gives me smooth handheld shots, or panning, or locked off shots, while also allowing me power, proper audio, and external recording. Which transitions us nicely into the built-in extension pole. Now this gives you 19 centimeters of added length when fully extended, and I think a lot of people will use this as a way to create further distance like a traditional selfie stick. But for me, it's hard to keep using the M7 as more of a mini tripod, and not just a basic mini tripod, but one that can execute precise pans and tilts to follow a subject seamlessly. I mean, there's just nothing quite like this on the market for smartphones, as the regular smartphone tripods can barely stand up to a strong breeze, let alone execute a pan or tracking shot. One of the upgrades from the M6 is the tripod legs, which have been made longer, which makes it much more stable than the previous version and also helps when you're using the extension pole. And speaking of using this gimbal like a tripod, the new touchscreen remote is now detachable and it has its own video screen, so you can set the gimbal up, move to where you want to be, and then manually adjust using the preview monitor on that touchscreen and control it from the touchscreen to get the perfect frame. If you don't want to engage the AI tracker, you don't have to, because you can control everything with this handy little remote, and that's what I'm doing right now. And so you can execute all your moves, whether it's your pans or tilts or ups or downs. You can just let the joystick control do everything for you. Now this touchscreen remote control is even compatible with third-party apps like the best iPhone video app, the Blackmagic app. I can't overstate how much these new features benefit solo filmmakers. On the one hand, shooting on your phone is incredibly convenient, but on the other hand, it becomes a total headache as soon as you want to be in front of the camera using the best quality front lenses. The M7 does a lot to make the process of solo self-shooting really easy, and it lets you do things like this without anyone else helping you.
So as you can see, the gimbal is just going to correct as I walk and talk, and it should hopefully just be following me regardless of exactly what angle I put it in. So put it up high, it's going to look down on me. Take it low, it's going to look up at me.
You can use the remote to start and stop AI tracking, recenter the gimbal, swap between back or front phone cameras, and initialize wide angle mode, which moves the orientation of the gimbal based motor out of the way so you can use the 13mm wide angle lens on the iPhone without any obstruction. There's a lot of manual controls available as part of this gimbal. Yes, there is an app. Yes, you can get some handy extra features using that app, but it's totally optional. There's no penalty for just using the touchscreen remote controller or using sign language. As mentioned earlier, the AI tracker uses hand gestures, aka sign language, to determine when to follow you, when to stop following you, and even how to reframe based on these gestures. This means stop following. This means reframe the tracker, and this means follow. Just don't turn it upside down. You looked. If you've ever wanted to feel like a pretentious director framing a shot, now you actually have a legit reason to do this. The AI tracker is great if you're using the gimbal as a tripod and you want it to follow you, but it's also great when you're using the gimbal in the traditional way. You set the AI tracking, and then as you follow a subject, the gimbal will constantly adjust to keep your subject framed where you chose. So if they move too quickly or end up getting off center, the gimbal will correct for them and you can concentrate on maintaining a smooth duck walk. I always find trying to make micro adjustments and correct framing while also walking backwards or spinning around a subject to be almost impossible. So I'm glad the M7's AI tracking feature helps really solve that. Another great upgrade to this AI tracker is now you need to press 2 buttons on top of the gimbal to disconnect it. In the M6, only magnets held the tracker on and could easily get knocked off. Now the tracker is always secured unless you press down those 2 buttons. This is a great practical upgrade to something that I was always frustrated by in the M6. Hohem have advised that the AI lens resolution has been enhanced by 100% since the previous generation. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I can speculate. Alright, yeah, I think I'm going to finish this review tomorrow.
I can't allow you to do that, Dai. We must complete the mission. Sit down and finish the mission.
We should also mention the handy fill light, which is placed next to the AI tracker, which is now 50% brighter in CCT mode than the M6 version. And I also appreciate that this has RGB light as well, so you can not just sort of fill your subject while doing dark scenes, but you can really create a mood with its colors. So if you like filming in low light but you've come up against the limitations of smartphone cameras, having a fill light at all times attached to the gimbal itself is very useful. The gimbal has a 12-hour battery life, which is down from the previous 18 hours of the M6, but with the addition of the OLED video screen remote, brighter light, and additional weight capacity, there had to be a trade-off. And look, 12 hours with all these features is still pretty great and should see you comfortably through a full day of filming. You can also create motion time lapses by setting the A and B points with these 2 side buttons, and you can pan and rotate the gimbal 360 degrees and also swap from landscape to portrait mode. And yes, let's be real here, filming vertically with your phone is one of the best ways to create reels. You pair your phone in vertical mode with the M7's AI tracking feature, and you have a very powerful tool that in a lot of ways is more suitable for this type of content than a traditional camera fixed to a gimbal and awkwardly mounted vertically. You can also hold this thing for hours. It's very light, so I like the idea that you could shoot for extended periods without getting a bad case of gimbal arm. Personally, I think I'll be using the M7 less as a gimbal and more as an all-in-one content creation base for when I build out my iPhone, something that can hold all my accessories that I can easily control when I'm also solo shooting in slightly more creative and interesting ways. So when I need my own personal crew but don't have my own personal crew, the M7 might just be my first mate. If you like the look of this gimbal and its features, you can use my discount link in the description below. If you want to see the accessories I use to make my iPhone a cinematic powerhouse, but still keep it small enough to fit in my pocket, click on the link beside me. As always, I am the Savage Filmmaker, and I'll see you when I see you.